We all are here. Thank you very much.
So we have to give a big hand for all of them.
Once again, please. Rare Share is a unique session wherein Aurangabad Management Association is offering a unique learning to the upcoming managers, upcoming students into the management field for the practical management and leadership principles and certain tips. So, considering this, today we have with us Mr. Kunal Sikchi. Mr. Sikchi is a founder and MD of Matrix Life Science. It's a innovative company, I will say, and won't take much of time. I will invite honorable dignitaries, president of AMA, Mr. C.P. Tripathi, chairman of AMA, Mr. Satishji Kagliwal, Dr. Sunil Deshpande sahab, and Dr. Ullas Shurkar sahab of Devgiri Institute of Engineering and Management Studies. Sir, please.
Yeah, I invited him.
I will request Mr. Kagliwal sahab to give a formal welcome with the flowers, excellent orchid to Mr. Kunal Sikchi. A small brief about Mr. Sikchi.
Sorry, I did not. I had to postpone it from last month because I was traveling. Uh, so I'm actually basically from Aurangabad. Whatever introduction was given, I will. I don't know if this is a rare share. I think I'll make it like a common share. You have everything available on YouTube, TEDx, everything. So I'm not going to speak something new, but I will definitely talk about a lot of my experiences, what has happened over the period of time. I'm not very old, I'm 35 years of age. I was just telling sir, and let me start with how karma is. I had come here in 2011 with intention of teaching at Devgiri College. Okay. so I'd come to Shurkar sir's office. I wanted to teach engineering students. That was a passion. I did for a brief while at JNAC. I did that at other engineering colleges. Okay, so I've done quite a few things. So let me really start from where the journey began, and you know what we have done. We are still in a very learning phase. Honestly, we are still growing. There is miles to go as company, as individual. I feel there is much more which can be achieved over a period of time. But with whatever little I have learned over the years, I would like to put it up for you. I hope you take something from today's evening, because a lot of people have, despite heavy rains, I hope college has not made attendance compulsory, because in our college they used to make attendance compulsory, and we used to be at back benches thinking, why are we attending something like this? So I'll try and give out a few lessons. I hope you guys learn something out of it, and I take something out of you today, so that it's meaningful for both of us. So so let me first give you a little brief. Whatever he mentioned was a little far too much. I'll give you realistic about what I am as a person. I'm basically from Aurangabad. I'm born, brought up in Aurangabad. I did my schooling from Holy Cross. I'm a student. I finished my 10th standard in 2002. Then I came to Devgiri College. So I was in Devgiri College in 11th and 12th. And the reason I was here, because attendance was not compulsory. So back then I finished my engineering. I finished my 11th and 12th from Devgiri College. I mistakenly was also in the merit list. So at that point of time, there was a merit list. Today we have MCQs, exams available. So I was in merit list, and when we were felicitated, my parents were not there. They were traveling, because they never expected that I would be in merit. So they were traveling at that point of time. So I came alone to attend my own felicitation by Devgiri College. I wanted to study from ICT, which is actually the best institute for chemical engineering. Okay, was always very focused that I should finish my chemical engineering from ICT. My 11th and 12th, I was absolutely focused that I will do my chemical engineering from ICT. If I remember correctly, my PCM was about 98%, which was enough for me to get through ICT. Unfortunately, in the same year, government introduced MCT or CET kind of a thing. Okay, that was the first year, and they declared it like in 3 months' time that now they will have a MHCET or an entrance exam wherein 50% will be considered from that and 50% here. And of course, we were discussing and during my presentation I will say that our education system unfortunately doesn't allow us to be creative. Okay, and that is where we were mug up students. We used to mug up everything, and we used to vomit in our exams, and we used to score such good marks that we used to feel that we have done something so phenomenal. Okay, and I did not perform as well, and so I thought if not the best, then I will just choose any other engineering college. I thought rather be in Aurangabad. So I was just filling out my form, and my father has kept telling me since I was in 10th standard that, "Beta, I don't have any business, so you have to do your own stuff." He kept hammering the same thing, that there is no plan, you have to do your education, you have to decide for yourself. So at some point of time I used to feel a little hurt about it, that he should be a little more supportive, but today I feel that was good that he kind of raised us this way. So I was about to fill up and I thought I will take up an Aurangabad college. I think JNEC still has chemical engineering, and so my brother he's an ICT passed out. I think he was preparing to go to Canada for his education. So I called him that I'm choosing this college, and he said, "Why don't you go to Bombay? You will probably learn a little more, being around people." I said, "It's chemical engineering is the same whether I do it from anywhere else." He said, "It's not about chemical engineering. It's about people you will meet. It's about staying away from home. It's about, I think it will make you learn so many different things." So I then picked up Thadumal Shani Engineering College, which at that point of time was probably the second best to ICT, and I got through TSEC. Little experiences while I was in my engineering. So when I landed at my engineering, of course I was the highest, I had the highest marks, when I went there. Nobody asked me that what your marks are. Okay, people were talking about what books you are reading. People were asking about some of them I remember were doing some kind of NGO work. Some of them were making programs for Sudoku. Okay, and that was the kind of, it was a shock. Number one, because belonging to a smaller town, we did not have a lot of push for us to read books, or go little out of the box. We were so busy doing what we were doing that we never had any extracurricular activity, so to say. And that all mattered when I went to Bombay and I wanted to, mingle with friends, and they asked, "Okay, padhai to ek baat hai, what else you do?" I said, "I don't do anything else." And that was one shock. I realized that, we were not inculcated to read books, to even read newspaper for that matter. Okay, and I think staying in Bombay for 4 years, of course doing engineering was one thing, but I think it really taught me a lot of things. I'll share few examples, few slides, and of course I would then love to have some Q&A session. So if you have any questions, I would love to answer them as well. After I finished my engineering, I had a brief job at BSF. It's world's largest chemical company. But the Marwadi in me told me that no, I want to be an entrepreneur. Which in hindsight I feel it was a wrong call. I should have actually worked for a few years and then decided to come back. But back then I thought I want to be an entrepreneur, and so 14th June we finished our engineering, and 15th June I was in Aurangabad, and my father and my uncles run a chemical plant which is just 3 kilometers or probably a couple of kilometers from where your college is. So every day I used to go on a two-wheeler to my father's plant, and a lot of times the two-wheeler used to broke down, and then I used to walk from my house to the factory. And unfortunately, what happens is, I mean, and I feel 80% of the family-owned businesses, the problem is they want you, but they don't know why they want you there. So that is the biggest problem. उनको चाहिए आप आओ काम करो, लेकिन उनको ये नहीं मालूम है कि आपसे काम कराना क्या है. Okay, and very rightly, I mean, my chairman, Mr. Pradeep Rathi, he keeps saying that, we are so attached to our businesses that we don't know how to let loose of them. We are absolutely attached to the businesses. Okay, so while I was working at my father's unit, of course I learned a lot of things, but I realized it was not giving me happiness. Every day I used to wake up thinking why I am going to the office every day. And when it kept happening for a couple of years, I realized this was not what I wanted to do. But of course, I mean, I did not know what I wanted to do. And money was an important aspect, so they used to pay me a salary to come there. But I was not sure why I was going every day. I developed a couple of products there. I think I developed a very good product there, which went on to really change that company. And very recently we bought that business, and now we are setting up a 10x facility at Patton for the similar product. Okay, but that's when I realized that you could do a lot of innovative stuff. Okay, so after one fine day I decided I'll quit, and once I quit, then there is whole new level of playground which is available for you. You can do everything. I have went to, at that point of time Aurangabad did not have Naturals ice cream. So I went and met the owners of Natural Ice Creams that, I want to set up a Natural Ice Creams parlor in Aurangabad. Okay, so not because I was an engineer, I thought I will do something in chemical. No. I did anything and everything which I could have probably felt. At that point of time, game zones were, these video parlors. People used to go in these video parlors and they used to play video games. It was very popular. There was a brand called Zapak. So I thought I will take franchisee of Zapak in Aurangabad. So I've done very weird stuff, very weird. Today when I look back, I feel what I was thinking, Then I started a coaching institute, okay? And I was teaching engineering students about how to participate in group discussions or personal interviews, when you have your placements, okay? So I went to number of engineering colleges. We were talking about going to an engineering colleges which is right at the hill, okay? And at that point of time also I was not feeling that this is something which I want to pursue, okay? But of course money was important. Those sessions gave us little money. And look at karma, I never did a session at Devgiri College. So I'm back here so I'm able to deliver at least something to some students here. So that's how the whole circle is. What I've done, and something which is very interesting and which kind of changed the whole phase of where we are today is, I used to gather money and I used to go to exhibitions. I used to travel to exhibitions, so since I understood paint industry, I went to some paint exhibition in Dubai, okay, found out the cheapest place to stay, cheapest flight to go, went to Dubai, went to exhibition, and after the exhibition I was sitting at a coffee shop, and I decided that rather than just sitting on my own, I will share a table with somebody. Okay, so I get to interact with somebody, and as I have come so far, I rather do something about it. So I shared a table with an Egyptian boy, and I told him that I'm come from India and I'm looking for opportunities, and so we started discussing. So he mentioned that he had started a small chemical trading company in Egypt. So he was a Jordanian, and he started a small trading company in Egypt. And he says, Kunal, let's be in touch. Let's be in touch. When I went back, I saw an email from him 6 hours later that I want, say, some 4 products from India. Would you be able to supply me? I said, why not? So I, came back to India. I started finding out कि products मिलते कहाँ हैं? How do I work on these products? I figured out that I get these products from a couple of industries, and I shipped out a container to him. And there were some issues with the container, and he was not paying us back. So I thought, was he a fraud? What was happening? But I decided that let me just go to Egypt and meet him. Again, gathered some money, went to Egypt, and I called him that, boss, I'm sitting in this hotel and I would like to meet you. And he came and he appreciated the fact that I took all the efforts to travel, to meet him. And he said, and I said, I've taken a 5-day return ticket, so if nothing happens, I'll just go check the tourism in Egypt, go see the pyramids, and I go back to India. But he said, no, let's now, since you have come all the way, we'll just go and meet several customers. And I started supplying him product. We became very good friends. This is in 2011. We continue to be very good friends and continue to do a lot of business together. Okay. And that is where I learned how, perseverance or constantly trying something can really get you a few things. Okay. But if you are not doing it, then nobody is going to come and give you on a platter. Okay. So it really changed the course of how I thought. Okay. From a little business which I did with him earned me money for me to do something. And at that point of time, that money was enough. And I asked my brother that what do I do? He says कि कल कभी तेरे को chemical plant करना पड़े तो तेरे को land लगेगी. So why don't you invest this money in some land? Why don't you buy land? Okay. So I straight went to MIDC office and I asked somebody, sir, I need some industrial land, and they said कि Baluj is this is the cost at Baluj. This is it. And I said, if I spend whatever little money I have, I will get only 30,000 square feet of plot. I mean, it's too small. So I asked, what is the cheapest MIDC you have? So they said, we have Python MIDC, which is the cheapest, but we don't have any land there. So I said, then how do you expect young entrepreneurs to set up industry in India? Okay. So they said, no, we don't have a land. But while I was walking out, somebody just called me to his office, and he recently retired from MIDC, and I really respect him. And he said, see, यहाँ से कुछ नहीं होना. If you really want to do something, you straight go to Mantralaya. And I said, who is going to entertain me at Mantralaya? मेरे को कौन बुलाएगा, कौन मेरे से बात करेगा? He gave me the CEO's name at that point of time, Mr. Bhushan Gadrani, and he said that why don't you go and meet him? Okay. I kept on writing emails, and one day I decided I'll straight go to MIDC main office. I went, I gave my business card, and I said I'd just like to meet for 5 minutes. After 5 hours, he was coming out, and he saw me and he said, what is it? I said, see, I want to buy land, I want to set up some industry. I spoke to him for 3 minutes. It was precisely 3 minutes, and I thought this is not how work will be done. 2 weeks later, I get a call from local MIDC office. They called me and they said, why did you go? I mean, we would have helped you. And I said, sir, I came to you, but you were not helping me. And they decided that, okay, green space ज़्यादा है, हम ऐसे कर सकते हैं, ऐसे कर सकते हैं. And then they work. And they figured out that we have about 5 acres of plot which is available. It was cheap at that point of time. It was just about 10 lakh rupees an acre. I thought, और कुछ है क्या, ज़्यादा मिलेगा क्या? And he said, there is 10 acres also which is available. I said, let me take 10 acres. Believe me, I did not even know how 10 acres look like. 10 acres as a plot, how large it is, I did not know. But I just thought, 5 से तो ज़्यादा ही होगा 10. So and that was the kind of money I had. That इतना पैसा है, तो we'll be able to buy about 10 acres. We must have spent about 60 odd lakh rupees. So we got the land. When I actually went there and they did the marking, I said, this is too large. 10 acres is absolutely large. Okay. Along with, so I kept on asking myself that what is my passion? What am I looking at? Okay. So, and I'm not brilliant or anything. He said about my scholarship, in engineering, anybody can score good marks. I mean, you have to study for last 1 month. And if you are engineers here, you will understand this. Okay. So, I was not conceptually learning it. I was just learning engineering for learning's sake. Okay. So I still tell people that I'm a very pathetic chemical engineer. Whatever chemical engineering I've learned is while I started my own factory. That was core chemical engineering. I had to again bring my books back, again start reading about it. And I learned actual engineering while I was working. So I jokingly tell a lot of people that India produces best of the doctors, and the reason is because after 5 years they are compulsorily made to work for 3 years in a government hospital. And with the kind of rush we have, they practically see every patient which is available, and Indian doctors are famous in US and anywhere else, okay? But unfortunately, that's not the case with engineers. Now I know some of you will tell me that Sundar Pichai is heading, Microsoft, but part of their education was here, and a part of their education was in US. Okay, so unfortunately, I think we should be made compulsory that after 4 years of engineering, you should work 2 years at shop floor levels. Anyways, that kept aside, after I came out of the family business, I started a very small R&D center. So we were about 4 people which started R&D. We worked on number of products which kind of failed at R&D scale, until I realized that I want to work on a byproduct which is exported to China, and there is no plant in India which is producing this. So our raw material is like a byproduct from an edible oil industry. So I thought, let me pick this up. I was first trading on this product. So I used to sell this product to China. So I visited China and I saw their plants, and I thought, why not somebody in India is doing this? Somebody in India, India is best of the minds, so why somebody is not doing this in India? When I came back, I realized a couple of factories started it, but they could not really work on the technology and they got shut. So I thought, let me make an attempt on doing this. So 2012, December, we actually started an R&D. 2015, we set up a small plant which was about 100 tons per month of this oil processing. We were about 20 people when we started this plant. And while we went from lab or pilot scales to the main plant scales, we could not actually take this technology to the next scale. Okay. And at one point of time, I decided to shut this factory. And I had a lot of, I'd given my GRE, GMAT. So I started preparing for GMAT, thinking that now I will go to US and I will settle. I've tried my best. At that point of time, I called my maternal uncle, and my maternal uncle and my brother, they had started a specialty chemical company about 5 years back, and they had faced something similar. So they said, Naini, this is too early for you to quit. Why don't you give it another 6 months time? हो जाएगा कुछ ना कुछ, और नहीं होगा तो फिर तो चले जाना. You already have a plan set for you to go. And they said, why don't you do this? So at that point of time, what I started doing was I started connecting with professors across the globe which has worked in this technology. Okay, and I stumbled upon one professor. He was 87 years of age, and he had worked on this technology in US. Okay, briefly. Okay, so I reached out to him. Okay, I reached out to him and I said, sir, is it possible for you to help me on this? Okay, and can you come to India? So he said, I've never traveled to India before. Okay, and at that point of time, I think the Malaysian airline had just dropped into Pacific. So he says, no, you are very unsafe, as a continent to travel, so I will not travel. I actually had to beg him, sir, can you just travel for 5 days, okay, and meet us? He finally, after a lot of persistence, he agreed to come. He came for 5 days, and I tell you, I did my MBA in those 5 days, I did my engineering in those 5 days, just by staying with him and learning with him from his experience, okay. And he gave us few ways of how we should go about it. He also, apart from technology or apart from product, few things which he told me, and I still remember very vividly, is, he told me that, Kunal, he was a well-read man, so he said, the problem with you in India is you run behind money, and you don't care about creativity, okay. And while we were engaging, and I said, no, Indians are so creative, how can you say this? They said that, look at McDonald's, where did it start? Look at Nike, look at iPhones. You name the product which we are using today, and the birthplace of it is in US, okay. And he kind of convinced me with the fact that we don't engage in creative talks, we don't engage in creativity, and we don't celebrate failures, okay. So few things which I learned from his is also something which I've put up in my presentation. And after he left, I said, no, now I want to really do it and make it one of the best facilities in the world in terms of vitamin E. So we spent another year in R&D, okay. Cutting my story short, today we have scaled up 10 times. We are one of the largest in the world for natural vitamin E, and we would now like to work on, and we are working on a lot of creative products. We boast about having 50 people in R&D today, which for our size and scale is a lot of spend. But I feel it is all about creativity. And believe me, we can do it in any field you are in. I have, fortunately for me, I connect with such amazing entrepreneurs even here in Aurangabad. Some people who are working in farming, some who are working in waste collection centers, some who are doing absolutely amazing stuff. And it is about going out of the way and trying to connect with few people, few like-minded people. And this has been my journey so far. It's not rare, it's just common. I think you have to add a little few ingredients. You meet a lot of people on your journey and they help you. That is the reason our company name, people ask me, why do you name your company name Matrix? आपने क्या सोच के इसको Matrix किया? And I was not brilliant, or I did not come up with technology or patents, or I was not an IIT graduate to have done something like that. But one thing I did is I kept meeting people. Okay. In fact, I connected with Satish ji also on LinkedIn. I don't know if he remembers. Of course, the family knew each other, but he did not know me personally. And if there was any problem, I took up a phone and I kind of messaged that if somebody could help. Okay. So that's what I've done. It's about the people who work at Matrix, the 3 scientists or 3 people who are working from day one. They continue to work at Matrix today, and they have taken up leadership role at the company. We are today about 300 people. We are expanding well. We have global offices as well. Okay, and we have a long way to go. Believe me, there is learning every practical day. That's where we are. I will take you to a few lessons which I've learned. If you can take something out of it, I'll be more than happy. There are a few things which I practice wholeheartedly. Few things even I am trying to improvise on it. Okay, so I'll just take you through these things. Okay. So procrastinating, there are a lot of youngsters here. So let me explain you very quickly how this is. There are friend circle. People decide, चलो आज movie चलते हैं, and there is always a friend who will say कि मैं सोच के बताता हूँ. If there are people who are working, there is generally a plan that चलो गोवा चलते हैं साथ. And there are few friends who will say चलो यार मैं सोच के बताता हूँ. Okay, and ideally they know what the answer is, but we always try to delay it. Okay, whether it is your assignment if you are a student, whether it is your mailbox if you are a professional. There are mails which are lying, there are phone calls which are there are unread WhatsApp messages. Of course, you leave the WhatsApp groups. There are a lot of things which are available, but we don't end up completing them. We know the answer of it, but a lot of times we only tend to postpone it. Okay, I think this is something which has helped me a lot to decide whether I want to do it or not do it. Okay, now Mr. Deshpande will tell me that I mailed you, but you replied me after 2 days. You took 2 days time to reply me back. Why you did not reply? Because I am preaching this. I was really thinking whether I want to do this or not. Because there is always a frame of mind. Of course, I was traveling. There is new plant coming up. There is so much of R&D happening, and I was thinking that whether I'm really a perfect fit to address a crowd, and whether my share is really something which is very rare or not. So I was just thinking for a couple of days, and because of Satish Uncle's persistence, I thought, chalo, let me just do it. Easily, I took a couple of days to reply back. But I think in a lot of ways, I think we lose out on only procrastinating about things. We keep thinking, मैं करता हूँ, मैं सोचूंगा, मैं सोच के बताता हूँ, and I think that whole time is lost in that. And there are, I can tell you, 90% of the things you know the answer whether you want to do it or not. You practically know it, that whether this is something which I want to do it or I don't want to do it. But it's about buying time. Okay, so at the end of the day when I'm leaving my office, I try to make sure that none of my mails are unanswered, whether it is a simple yes or a no, whether there are WhatsApp messages, whether a lot of people will ask you whether you can come for this party or not. I said yes or no. I think I should know the answer for it, for us to have clarity between anything. So whether you are a student or a professional or anyone, I think this is something which I've learned wholeheartedly. I've put this as a first slide because I see a lot of people doing it. I will ask an employee, I connect with somebody and I say, do you want to join? People will not reply back for a few days. Probably they don't know how to say a no. Okay, and I think this is something which we need to learn a lot. Saying yes is still easy, but saying no to anything, it could be asking, for going out for a family function or anything. I think we just don't know how to say no. So this is something which I've learned during my journey, and I follow it to the T. I make sure that I don't leave things for tomorrow, for day after tomorrow, and when I know the answer for it. Okay, uh, very critical, because I experience a lot of people when I meet them and I ask them something, they will just take a lot of time despite knowing the answer for it. So this is my first takeaway. This is something which is very important, finding your purpose. Okay, and I even tell my 7-year-old daughter that, Ananya, you should find your purpose, and she tells me, Papa, please don't start your TEDx talk with me, because I've given a TEDx also. So I feel finding your purpose is so important. It comes irrespective of your education background. Okay, it is so important that you should find what your real purpose is. You could be anything. You could be a student, you could be a professional. The earlier you find your purpose in life, you hear about child prodigies, right? There's a chess player who has defeated the grandmaster in chess and stuff like that. So I think finding your purpose of doing things is so critical. Okay, you could join an NGO, you could be a teacher, you could do anything, but I think finding purpose is very important, because when you get up every day, there should be excitement to go. If it's your college, you should find excitement in going. If it's anything, there should be an excitement of doing it. So I think that finding purpose is extremely important. People say, I find a lot of happiness in going on through Instagram reels. I can keep doing it all day. So I say, if you can become an influencer, then it is good for you. Otherwise, this purpose is not going to take you anywhere in life. So that also is good if you are taking something. There is so much of distraction available for us. For this generation, I think there is so much of distraction available that, you can, because of our cell phones, we practically are exposed to anything and everything. Okay, so we are still living in a very cluttered world. But I'll tell you, one very good thing I did is not go to US, because I feel India, people who are there in India from our 75th year of independence to 100th year of independence, we are going to see a golden time in India. The opportunities in India are humongous. We are very lucky as youngsters to be in this era wherein, the speed is so good. There is so much of creativity. We are one of the fastest growing economy. You will hear about it, but I can experience it myself. The way people look at India is with a lot of respect and dignity when you go out to US or to any other part of the world. So we are very lucky to be in India, because I feel the kind of opportunities India has is humongous. It is about you finding your purpose. I ask every day when I get up in the morning that whether I'm feeling excited to do it, and if the answer is yes, for at least 8 times in 10 days, then I know what I'm doing is what I'm loving it. Okay, of course not all 10 days you're excited. There are some days when you don't want to go to work, but that's how it is. But if for 8 days you feel that this is what it is, then you know that you've found your purpose of life. And it could be anything. For somebody it could be tree plantation. I've seen people make work out of planting trees. Okay, so if you find your purpose, if you find your passion, earlier if somebody used to love cricket, there were only 11 Indian, in Indian cricket team, there are only going to be 11 players. But today you have IPL, you have so much of bandwidth. Actors, today you have OTT platform for you to be an actor. So I feel once you find your purpose, it is very important. People kept asking me a lot of when I kind of preach this, that you should find your purpose. कैसे मालूम पड़ता है? So I keep telling them, ये trial and error से मालूम पड़ता है. इसीलिए if you can see, there is a nut and this thing here. You have to keep trying different things for you to come across. That's the reason I said, I tried opening an ice cream parlor. I tried starting a paint shop. I've done 10 other things to have come to this and realize that this is my purpose of doing it. So out of 365 days, at least 330 days, I'm all excited to go to factory. I generally reach my factory at 8 o'clock when my staff starts at 8:30, and my wife keeps telling me that तुम जाके झाड़ू पोछा करते हो क्या उधर? Like, why do you have to go so early? And I say, for some reason there is so much of excitement, because there is so much of learning happening every practical day. So for everybody, there are people who don't find their purposes even till the last breath. They don't know what we are here for. I'm a firm believer, you don't know what you're going to be in your next generation. You don't know what you were in your next life or in your previous life. So this is where we are. Let's make the most out of it. And we are in an era wherein there is 5G. I mean, I kept asking my older generation that how you used to mail somebody in US. Today it's click of the button. आपको कुछ भी करना है, there is WhatsApp, there is video, there is so much of facility. To add cherry to that, now we have 5G coming up. They say it will be further more fast. So I keep wondering, और कितना fast होगा? I already find it very fast. I mean, I'm not a big tech savvy. In fact, I was looking at my own picture and I thought I'm looking way better in the picture than now. People will think, are these two different people? But it was clicked on an iPhone. And for people who are wondering, I don't use an iPhone because it's too expensive. So finding your purpose, trying to do the thing which you love doing is really important, and keep trying on different things. It doesn't, like I said, it doesn't matter if you are a chemical engineer, you should only end up doing chemical plant or chemical products. You can still find your purpose in doing something different. So this is something which I keep preaching, I keep telling everybody that we should really find, if I'm an employee of a company and if I belong to a department, I should really know whether I really love doing that or not. Okay, that's where I feel you have lived it. Okay. Again, something very important and which you have seen in my journey so far, I don't hesitate in asking. Okay, you keep on thinking about the girl you like or the boy you like, but you never ask for it, and then she or he ends up getting married to someone else. Okay, so and you never know, if you would have asked, you would have probably got an opportunity. Okay, we negotiate a lot with the bhaji vendors, right, outside. But when we go to Shoppers Stop or when we go to big malls, nobody negotiates there. So when we bought something and I said my wife that I will like to negotiate here. And she was so embarrassed that how can you negotiate here? I said पूछ के देखते हैं. He might just say no, but what is it in asking? And I asked him that could you give us some discount? We've bought something from here. He said generally nobody asks for a discount, but since you have asked, I have an employee discount which I will give you 5%. So it worked. So I think when and since our childhood, I remember so vividly when we were in schools, and today of course we had 100 students in a class, and whenever a session used to get over, the teacher used to ask that sabko samjha, do you have any questions? And there were 10 questions in the mind, but we used to be ashamed about it कि boss मैं पूछूं कैसे? People will think I'm stupid, that I have not understood, and half of the class was like that. Nobody understood, but nobody dared to ask about it. Okay. We carry this habit from school to our junior college, to our engineering, from our engineering to our professional. And as we grow older, we keep thinking that boss asking is telling somebody that I'm weaker. And after you've crossed a certain age, then there is no point in asking. Okay. So I think as anybody, I feel if you ask for it, you might just get it. A friend of mine, while I was in my engineering, he taught me so nicely that mana hi karega aur kya hoga, somebody will just say no. And I will tell you, I am a big follower of LinkedIn because I use that as a very big social tool, and I feel there is such a phenomenal tool which is available for anybody and everybody. If you are a school going student or a college or a professional, it's such an amazing tool. I connect with anybody and everybody. I have about 30% of the employees at my company are people whom I have connected on LinkedIn, and I have requested them that would you like to join us, because we are not a big name, or we were never a large name. So why would anybody get convinced? Half the people used to never travel to Paitan, कि बहुत दूर नहीं आना है, So we used to really request people that why don't you come and join. And a lot of people ask me that, अरे औरंगाबाद में आपको problem नहीं होता, you don't get employees, and I say I have best of the talent. I have somebody who has come from UK and has studied in UK, and he's come back to India and he's working with us. Okay, and it is all because I asked him on LinkedIn that whether would you like to join us. Okay, if I would not have asked the professor in US, I can tell you that we wouldn't have set up this plant ever. Okay, if I would not have asked Ahmed sitting in that coffee shop that would you like to have coffee with me, we would never have been able to start from there. Okay, so this is something which I'm not shy of. Okay, lot of people, when I still keep on, I like somebody's profile and I ask them on LinkedIn that would you like to join organization, and he says he looks like a founder director of a large company, why is he asking me on LinkedIn, like, is this some sham? And but when you actually meet them, they realize that no, this company does exist. So my this is one of the biggest learnings, and I feel it's about getting out of your shell. It is about not thinking for the fact that what will people think about it or what will happen. I think go out, ask for help. Okay, I would have connected to anybody and everybody, whether it is Mr. Ratan Tata or Mr. Harsh Mariwala. I have connected to anybody and everybody, and I've asked. Believe me, one of the industrialists did give me 45 minutes time on this thing, because he really liked the persistent way I was asking him, and he said, "Chalo, let me spend 45 minutes time with you." Okay, so it's about asking for help. It could be with your professor, it could be with your family, it could be with your co-employees, anybody and everybody. Today, when I have doubts in my mind, I'll call a team of people and I'll keep asking them कि कैसे करें. And I think collaborative work में इतना सारा creativity निकल कर आता है. There is so much which comes out of it. So asking is something which I continue to do. I can tell you the kind of business we've set. I can probably give 40% of the credit to LinkedIn, to give me customers, to give me technology, to give me employees. I may be having about 5-10,000 connections, and I make sure that I connect with 3 people every day. 3 new people I try and connect every day. Okay, it could be anybody, anywhere in the world, and in the kind of era we are in, the world is so small. Everything is so connected. So we have the kind of liberty to do it. यही आप 20 साल पहले किसी को पूछते तो शायद उनके पास वो टूल नहीं था. But today we have it. We are in a very lucky generation to be in this generation where we can connect with anybody and everybody across the globe, and we can start communication in a split second. So this is something which I do, and I really follow a lot. It has really helped me a lot. I would encourage you, of course, don't go and ask out any girl or any boy when you leave this. I mean, ask for help, ask for something bigger thing as well. Okay. Perfect. So, I think we all require mentors. Mentors need not be your fathers or your uncles. Okay, I think they should not be within your family, because family has a different barrier. Because they've looked at you for years together. A lot of times I meet somebody and they say, "My father is my mentor." Okay, it's good, but have mentors outside your circle. Have mentors for people whom you look up to, whom you want to become. Okay, so this has been something which I've taken. I ask for mentorship to a lot of people. It is irrespective of the age. Okay, it is irrespective of their background. Okay, the kind of learning you will get from mentors is very different, because I feel learning from somebody's experiences is very cheap. If you learn from somebody's experience, he spent a lot of time in learning that, and if you just get straight from him, you've just learnt it so cheap. Okay, so I feel having mentors is the most amazing thing, and you should have multiple mentors for multiple things. You will have somebody from your personal life, somebody for your professional life, somebody where you want to generate some skill sets. Okay, so I think having mentors is something which is very important. You should keep seeking for mentorship outside your circle. When you look up to people, and I can tell you, if I've asked 10 people for something, at least 7 of them have come back and said, okay, we can help you with this. Okay, so if you keep seeking for it, I'm sure you kind of get it back in return as well. Okay, so of course, while I work and I'm a workaholic, I'm a firm believer that you should really take care of your health, and I've seen your principal on bicycle in the whole of Aurangabad, so I've crossed him at so many times. So you have a leader who is such a firm believer in healthy lifestyle. It's not just about working out or exercising or sports. It's also about what you feed your mind. It's also about the kind of people you stay with. Okay, so this is something which is very important. From last year and a half, somebody told me, and I then started following it, that last 20 minutes before you sleep you should be digitally detoxed. You should not look at your phone the last thing you are sleeping, and they said, why don't you look at listening to affirmations? So there is like a 5-minute affirmation on YouTube or anything. And I can tell you, since the time I started doing that before I sleep and after I get up, I think it has really changed my mindset by at least 60%. I'm more positive, I'm more outgoing, I'm more looking forward to it, because if Netflix is the last thing which I'm doing or Amazon is the last thing, it keeps on going in your head. I don't know if you feel the same thing. Okay, so I learned it from someone. When I started practicing it, I really felt it was working very well. Okay, so it is about taking care of your body, it is about taking care of your mind, it is about people you be with, it is about friends you be with. You can gossip for 10%, 20%, but that cannot be the way of life. 80% of times you have to inspire each other. 80% of the times you have to learn with each other. I think when you go back to bed, I kind of think that how my whole day was, whether it was productive, whether I did something new today, whether I connected with one new person. This is something which is interesting and which has really taught me a lot. So it is not just about healthy body, but healthy mind is something which I really follow a lot, and I would really encourage everybody to do that. Try doing these affirmations while you sleep. It has given me a big change. I hope it does the same to you as well. So continuous learning is something which is very important. I try to unlearn every day so that you have to learn every day. The time you start feeling that I know everything about this, whether it is a subject, whether it is anything, that's where your learning has stopped. Okay, so people keep asking me that, you only do one product. I mean, of course we are working on other product, that why just one product? And my brother keeps telling me that till the time you are number one in world in what you're doing, you should keep on doing it again and again. It should be the best technology in the world. It should be the best product in the world. And in the world, if you have to do, you really have to spend a lot of time in doing that. There are a lot of iterations. I can tell you that, we are again reinventing our technology. I thought, let us again do it from scratch. And today we are finding some loopholes which we did not find while we were doing it. So continuous learning is such an important thing. You might be a PhD, but every day in your real life, you have to have that attitude or aptitude that I want to start learning again. The time we feel that I know anything and everything about it, that's where the learning stops. So I feel whatever you're doing, and I see a lot of students here, so the next slide I think will be more relevant for students here, but for professionals, in whatever work area you are in, I think it's about reading something new, it's about doing something new, it's about doing something differently, is something which is very important. So continuous learning is something which is very close to me, which I really follow a lot. I thought I'll put one of these slides here. Now this is something which we were of course discussing at Shiurkar sir's office. A lot of people say, India mein bahut unemployment hai. There's so much of unemployment, and I will tell you, it is not the problem of unemployment. The problem is we are unemployable. I have interviewed so many people over the years, and I talked to somebody who is a BSc, and I asked them a simple acid-base reaction, and people don't know about it. And they say, sir, wo first year mein kiya tha humne. We had done it in the first year. I meet chemical engineers and I ask them simple question that, what is boiling point of water? And they say 100 degrees Celsius. Then I say, why do clothes dry at room temperature? The boiling point of water is 100 degrees Celsius. You are trying to boil water out of clothes, right? So why does it happen at this temperature? And they have no answer for it. The problem is again about practicality when it comes to education. Like I said, I would have loved if I would have actually worked for a couple of years before I would have started. I would have been able to condense these 12 years of my life to probably 7-8 years. I would have saved a few years because I tried to do it on my own. If I would have learned at somebody else's cost, it would have been easier for me. Of course, less expensive also. Okay. So practical education is very important. You might be a finance person, so don't bother about what money you are getting paid. I think for first 5 years of your life, or 10 years rather, I can tell you, Mr. Lewis, who had come from US, he told me, run behind technology, money is a byproduct of it. Don't run behind money. then you will screw up the technology. Okay, so I kept following that, and if once you pass out, or don't bother about what money I'm getting. I think if we are bothered about what learning I'm doing, if I'm a professional, what boss I'm working with, whether he inspires me, whether I learn with him, if I have a business, whether I'm doing something very good in my business every day or not. I think that practical learning or practical education is so important. Okay, uh, so if you are looking at being hired at a company, go read about it. Learn about what is happening. If you're an engineering student, if you're an MTech, if you're an MBA in finance, marketing, there is a lot more which we don't know, because just getting a degree doesn't mean that you know everything about it. There is so much beyond it also. So I think practical education is missing. I gave you an example of how doctors in India are very good because the kind of patients they see only by doing their education. Unfortunately, engineering doesn't have something like this, or unfortunately, commerce doesn't have any like. Even chartered accountants, you will see they do articleship for at least 3 years. They work with somebody at a stipend of 2,000 rupees, and they turn out to be very good in their profession. Okay, so but this is, you don't have to be pressurized by the system to do it. You can take up by yourself as well. Okay, so this is something which I feel very close to it. I thought I will put up here as well. Very important. Of course, this is something which I am also working on. Not that every day I get up and I am so positive about life and everything. There are days when you're bogged down. There are days you don't want to do anything. But I think as long as 80% of the time, 70% of the times you're telling yourself that I'll be able to do it, I think that really takes you forward in life. Okay, and like I mentioned earlier, since the time I've started, listening to affirmations, it has further enhanced my belief. I don't know if you have read the book called The Secret. Okay, it says like attracts like. Okay, so आप देखेंगे there are people who are constantly cribbing about it. मेरे bad luck ही खराब है. I'm so unlucky about it, and they will only end up meeting with an accident. They will only have unlucky stuff. And there are people you will feel they're always very positive, upbeat about life, and they are the ones who are always doing good in life also. Okay, so I follow this book to the T. I really love reading, but this is a book which I really like. It says about if you want to do good in life, if you want to do something better, you should start imagining you are doing it. I'll give you a very small example, very close to my heart. 2015 we started Matrix, and there were 10 people, 5 of my employees in the conference room, and a lot of people said, you should have an aim of what you want to do, and that aim should be measurable. I cannot say मेरे को अच्छा काम करना है. किसी के लिए अच्छा could be 5,000 crores, किसी के लिए अच्छा could be 5 crores. There is no this thing to it. So you should put a number to what you are looking at. So I looked at the board and I wrote 100 crores of revenue by 2020. I felt being a 100 crore company will be very exciting, of course, because I've never seen that, did not know how it becomes. And 2020 was a round figure number. Because 2015 में चालू किया तो 5 साल का एक vision we stated, we wrote it on the board, and some of my people started laughing. Sir, कितने zero आते हैं इसमें पता भी नहीं हमारे को, stuff like that. Okay, and year on year I kept telling them that, boss, this is where we want to reach. Everywhere we had written that this is the revenue, this is when we want to reach. This is the revenue, this is when we want to reach. Okay, I'm not joking about it. I will tell you, the financial year, which is 2020-21. 30th December was when we reached 100 crore of sales. So it is actually a little unbelievable for us also, but we kept imagining that number every practical time, that this is where we want to reach. And fortunate enough for us, despite all the problems, COVID started in 2019. We still managed to do this in 2020. And when I knew that 2020 we will kind of reach this goal, 2018 we made a 2025 target. Now in 2022 we have made a 2028 target. Okay, and I think having goals which are measurable, which you can do it. See, if I'm a bicycle manufacturer, I know मेरा limit क्या है. You cannot just put up numbers which are not going to be there. I knew that vitamin E has XYZ market, and अगर हम ढंग से करें तो हम इतना कर सकते हैं. Okay, so I think having measurable goals, staying positive about it, believing in that, and making people who work with you believe that, I think it is the most phenomenal thing you can do. So this is something which I follow, and I thought I will put it out. uh, very critical thing. Virat Kohli was not doing well, and I was reading about him, and he said, I took a 2-month break and I did not go out for practice. And he said, for 12 years, ऐसा कभी भी नहीं हुआ कि every day I have not batted in nets for some time, but I took a month and a half break. I wanted to unlearn so that I can relearn. And he said something very interesting, and I'm sure you will take that. He said, success doesn't teach you anything. Success teaches you high, success teaches you ego. Success doesn't teach you anything. Failures teach you a lot of things. Okay, we don't celebrate failures the way we should actually celebrate it. So I don't know how many of you know, Google was not the first search engine to be made. Google was 11th or 13th company which started the search engine. Okay, so there were 10 other companies which started doing it, but at some point of time they failed, and they thought, okay, now that we failed, let's look at a new idea. But Google kept on being persistent about the idea, and Google is where Google is today. Okay, you should read about Steve Jobs, you should read about Jeff Bezos and how their journeys have been, and failures have been an integral part of it. So even today, we are still a young company, we are still a 6-year-old company, and we still fail in a lot of things, and I only look back that what is it that I can learn from this failure. And more often I've seen that we end up only becoming more stronger if we have the attitude. So for first couple of days you're bogged down. Okay, why this is happening to me? Why can't life be better to me? And stuff like that. But if on the second day you become analytical about the problem, then I think there is a lot of learning on the failure of it. So we should celebrate failures. We should not look down upon failures. I remember in school, कोई fail हो जाता था तो people used to look at him as if, इसने क्या disaster कर दिया. We don't celebrate people who walk out of college for a year and they want to pursue something. It's so uncommon in India. When we start in engineering, हम वही college में MBA करके निकल जाते हैं. Luckily you have the facility here. So, but I think failing on few things is a very lovely thing. I think it takes you out of your comfort zone. Okay, it teaches you a lot of things. Okay, we are as a company, and I am as an individual a product of a lot of failures. I am a failure of being rejected by Natural Ice Cream because he said you don't have an F&B experience. Okay, I wrote to Domino's that was either Domino's nahi hai, can I start, and they say you need a place on the main road, only then we can give you a franchisee. Okay, on several products which we started were ahead of times. Several products were a lot of commodity, but these failures are something which has taught us a lot of things. Okay, again give you an example of how failure really helps you. We wanted to start a product called rosemary. We do some work on that, and one of my scientists said that why don't we grow here? It is only grown in Morocco, and we called a lot of agri universities, and they said no, Marathwada is not the place. Itna garam hai. This crop will never survive. This, that, everything. But he was very persistent about कि नहीं यार try करते हैं. Let's try that. Okay. So we tried half acre के couple of plots of planting this rosemary. It is an herb which grows in Mediterranean region for people's understanding. And only 10% of it survived, 90% of it failed. Okay, he took that 10% and he gave me a very beautiful concept. He said, see how we live here and we find living in these humid conditions fine. People in US find this very hot. If we go to Antarctica, we will find that very cold. So how we get accustomed to it? He says plants are the same. So if these 10% have survived, they probably have got accustomed to this. Right now we are at 100 acres of rosemary plantation in and around Marathwada, and we would like to take it to 1,000 acres. Okay, if I would not have heard him, we would not be able to get it here. If we would not have gone back on our failure and again kind of worked on it, we would not be able to do it what we are doing today. There are still learnings every day, we still fail every day, but I think if you go back on the drawing table, if you are as a team together, failure is a very interesting thing. You could fail in a subject, you could fail in some aspect of life, it could be a relationship also, but I think what you take from failures is something which is so interesting. I keep on telling everybody that let's celebrate it. We don't have to demean somebody for failing. There is so much which has come out of it. Again, a very small example, very interesting. A friend's son was in a school and he hacked into the school system, a very reputed school, I don't want to name it, and he changed his grades. So he was some star and he upgraded himself, and the teacher realized it later on that was there is some goof up in the system, okay, and they caught him doing that, and they called the parents, and my friends were so embarrassed that principal called us, and he's shouting that what his son is doing, and I said look at the bright side, that he's in 8th standard and he could hack into the system. So you have to look at it that he found that the system had loophole, he hacked into the system, and right now he's preparing to go to some of the top 10 universities in US in ethical hacking. Can you believe it that somebody in 8th standard was so much into hacking, and then I said you push him for that, and their background is completely different, and they realize he has that liking about computers, about technology, about doing this, and now he's preparing to do something like that. So if, not that you have to encourage everybody to do this, but if somebody has done that, there is also a way to look at it also, okay. So if you decide to drop out for a year, if somebody flunks for a year, I think it's fine as long as you understand the failure, you work on it, and you kind of unlearn and then learn about it. So this is something which is very critical, very close to me. Staying focused is so important, and especially in this era where we are kind of defocused by everything around us. Every day I decide that I will unblock myself, or I will come out of Facebook, and I'm not able to do it. Every day I feel that this Instagram is such a waste of time, and but we are so habituated to the social media, to anything and everything around us. I think the focus time span reduces so much. We are a generation which keeps on swapping things, right? So focus is something which we tend to lose. So staying focused is something which is very important, which I've learned over a period of time. I'm also learning the way I'm speaking right now, that how can I be more focused in doing what I'm doing. Once I know I'm focused about it, then I know I'm able to achieve the best out of it as well. So we have to kind of keep away from the distractions which are available for us, and try and see that how more focused we can be. Learn to share, and this is my last slide, so I will not bore you a lot. We all have experiences in life. We all know so many things, okay, but we don't end up sharing, okay, because we feel that ye lekar jayega mera experience. We're always worried about it, right? If you are a student and if you have found an easy way of doing some sum or a math or a problem, you don't end up sharing that knack with someone else, because you feel yaar main ye use karunga mere advantage ke liye, and then you know that uske paas bhi kuch apna hai jo he can use it. So only when I will share it, people will share it. I often feel that I'm from the manufacturing background, so I feel there should be 10 people who should come from manufacturing and discuss their problems, okay. And there are so many problems जिसका मैं solution पिछले साल ढूंढ चुका हूँ, जिसको वो आज face कर रहे हैं वो problem, okay. So there is so much which can happen from sharing and learning from each other, and that can happen irrespective of age. But when will learning happen? When you ask somebody for it, okay. So I go out, if I find something, a year back again I met somebody in Aurangabad on LinkedIn, and I met him and I realized he has a very good knack of finance, okay. And I kept asking him a lot of questions, and he found out a lot of flaws in our banking arrangement, because I'm not a finance background, right? He said, Kunal yaar, tu ye galat kar raha hai, ye galat kar raha hai. And we met for the first time, but of course he could not open up a lot. So one fine day I was sitting at a coffee shop and I called him that, you were telling me something and I think it makes a lot of sense, can we catch up? And we met, and it saved me a lot of money in terms of his understanding about finance, which he happened to share with me, okay. Then I told him that, he then came to Pathan and he saw that this MIDC looks good, it's cheaper land. Now he's bought about 30-acre land there and he's trying to set up his own factory there. This is about learning and sharing our experiences with each other. You could be a student, you could be a professor, you could be a professional. We all have so many experiences. I think learning from each other is something which is so critical. So the reason I'm here is that probably you take out a couple of things and when you go back it changes you. And probably when I walk out, I take few things back with me as well. So I think sharing about ideas, I did mention that how can we learn out of people's experiences is so critical, okay, because somebody has lived that, and if he gives you that gist of it, I mean, you have saved a whole lot of time, okay. So I would really encourage everybody to share their experiences, some things which you are good at, if you end up sharing, I'm telling you, you get a lot of thing in return back to you as well. Okay, so this is very critical. I love doing that. I also meet a lot of now entrepreneurs who are starting up, and I tell them कि बॉस ये गलती मैंने तब की थी, तुम मत करना, you know. So this is how I think a pattern should be there. I go to entrepreneurs who are 10x bigger than me and I ask them कि मैं अब यहाँ पर हूँ, मैं ऐसे क्या गलती avoid कर सकता हूँ ताकि मैं quicker ऊपर जा सकूँ. Okay, and believe me, like I said, out of 10 people, 8 of them have come back and given me right guidance. They've shared their experience. They've really been helpful to me. So sharing your learning is very important. Like I said, you could be a student, you could be anybody, but you could really share whatever you have learned. If you like a few things here, go back and share with a few friends of yours that was, I went to a seminar, I was forced to sit there, but मेरे को ये दो चीजें मजा आया, you know. So I will tell you, you follow, I follow, and what if it changes you and your friend? I think it's a best way of you know, giving out positive energy, and then, you know, it goes from person to person. So I would love to have questions, anything anybody has. More than happy to answer. If anybody has any questions, please. Like I said, it was very common thing. You will find all this in a lot of TEDx, in a lot of videos online. But it was a great experience for me to come here, have an audience like this, despite the heavy rainfall, everything, to share a few things which I've learned. But I'll be more than happy to answer. Like I say, ask. You never know, you might just get an answer for it.
You were in a comfort zone when you're working with your parents.
Very true. Yeah.
There might be some problem. They don't know why you are here and you don't know why you are here.
Correct.
But that was a comfort zone.
Correct.
What is the critical point at that time you decided to quit?
So I'll tell you, and people who want to join their parents as businesses, like I said, a generation doesn't want to leave, and this generation wants to do a lot of changes. I think both of them have to come to midway, which is a very critical point. My brother is my mentor, and I kept asking him, and he says, you know, Kunal, doing something from scratch is easier than probably trying to change something which is right in the middle, you know. And he kept joking because he started his own company. So he says, "Tu to chalti gaadi mein chal gaya. You know, look at me. You know, I've done something from scratch." So I think, sir, I'll tell you, more than the comfort zone, it is about the difficulty in trying to adjust something which is old. You know, it's so difficult. Rather you buy a new car rather than re-adjusting the old vehicle. Okay. Of course, the transition can be much smoother. I see now families coming out and making transitions much smoother and much better. It was very difficult, and I'll tell you, initially to join and not leave is also because of comfort zone, because nobody wants to come out of it. It's so easy to be there and be recognized. Comfort zone is a safe place, right? But once you decide to step out of it, is the most, I mean, you know, and once you know that you can do it, वो एक बार आपको बाहर आना जरूरत है. Like every day I feel now I'll start dieting, you know, and after 5 days I then feel यार थोड़ा मीठा खा लेते हैं. You know, it's very difficult. Every day I go to gym, and that's one thing I follow, and I make sure that even if it is out of your comfort zone, because people want to party at night, आपको वो नहीं करके अगले दिन उठ के जाना है, तो it is again about the comfort zone. So this is something which I've learned, sir. Anything else? Anybody in the student? Anybody would love to ask something? I would be more than happy to answer. I was not so convincing that you have understood everything, but great. So I'll thank you so much for having me. I hope with whatever little I have to share, I hope you will take out a few things from here. I would love to connect with anybody who would like to connect back with me. I would love to share more of my experiences as well. Thank you, AMA, for having me. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Tripathi ji. I've heard a lot about you. So meeting you in person is a pleasure. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Kunal, if you can stay there. Thank you very much, Mr. Kunal, for this. I think it's a great insight and very nice rare share, rather, I will say. May I request sir to please come on the dais, sir, please. Tripathi sahab, Kagliwal sahab, Shivurkar sahab, आप भी, and Dr. Deshpande sahab, you also. See, one thing which I wish to share with you is to particularly to the students. You did a lot of clapping for him. You appreciated him. Let us appreciate ourselves also. The students, those who are sitting next to each other, raise both the hands. Raise, please raise. Both the hands and clap to other person. Other person. Okay. I will request our chairman Shri Sripiti Patil sir to present a memento to Mr. Kunal. I will request Mr. Tripathi sir to sum up today's session, please.
Dear friends, Kunal is a person who is a real entrepreneur. You must have seen this. This is real enterprise. There are people who have come here, who have spoken, who had the business given to them, or they came from families where there were people outside who supported them to stand up. In Aurangabad, there are a number of people who are there, but they were not, some of them were given on platter, the thing to start with. Here is a person who has struggled to locate where he wants to go. But probably one thing he said time and again is you must do what you enjoy. You must find a purpose. And that purpose is where you like to do things. When you get up in the morning and you are rushing to your place of work, thinking that I am going to do something new today, or I did something yesterday, what is the result of that today? That kind of mindset, if you have, then you know you are engaged into it and you're doing it. Getting a 87-year-old man back to India here and asking him some things, and he said that those 5 days were where he did his MBA, he did his business, he did everything in those 5 days. Now, a big example against a small situation where he has presented himself. Some of you who must have read how the Tata steel factory in Jamshedpur was set up. Somebody has had a desire that if India has to grow, it has to produce steel. And if steel has to be produced, we must know how to produce steel. So Jamshedji Tata traveled to Petersburg in the United States, looked for retired people, brought them to India, and these people surveyed the area on elephant in bullock carts, since there were no other means at that time to travel. So this is something which tells you that how strongly he was committed to learn something. He persuaded that person. Now, he has talked a couple of things from his own experience and he has put them. But you must realize they are also the eternal truths. When he talks of procrastination, he is telling you that you should not delay. Now, as a child, we had learned this thing. काल करे सो आज करे सो अब पल में प्रलय होएगी भौर करे वो कब. So people have been telling us all this, but the fact is, here is a person who realized it in his life from his own experience. Learning something from your own experience is more valuable to you. Sometimes these preachings go over your head and you don't assimilate them. Now, one more thing he said, and he showed a cartoon where he was showing a person where head was a plant, and there was another person, a mentor, who was watering the plant. Okay, you must have noticed it. It was something which I liked very much in his presentation. There is a mentor who really gives water to your plant in your head, what is growing in, and he nurtures it. And manure and other things are important, but then most important for plant to grow is water. So this is something where there is somebody in whom you have trust, whom you feel that he can give you something, and if you take from him, then it stays with you for very long. And that is why in system, again it's eternal truth, that you should have a mentor. You should have a person where you have Shraddha and Vishwas, whom you believe that he can give you something, and you trust what he is telling you the truth. You trust what he is telling you will be useful to you. So I believe that this has been one of the, we normally say, for the sake of saying it's a rare share and all this, but here is a real rare share, a boy who wants to go and teach, a boy who wants to go to America to do higher studies. He is not someone who wants to be industrialist, but then searching and persisting, he has found a purpose in life and he is doing that. So this is a real learning that youngsters here can take home, that never give up. Keep looking for purpose in your life. Today, we are lucky. As he has rightly said, when we grew up as children, we had no opportunities absolutely. Today, parents are in a position to support you, at least give you bread and you can sleep under a roof. In those conditions, in those days, those conditions were also not there. Therefore, don't compromise. If you feel you want to do something, go ahead and do it. And there will be people who will support you. May not be your family, may not be your parents, but there will be somebody who will hold your hand and move forward if you have a sincerity. So I really thank you for being so good, so precise, so focused in your presentation that I really liked it. And this is a real rare share where you are finding a person with no direction and landing up in a span of 4 or 5 years with a solid direction and setting a target for 100 crores. Then again in 2018 he sets up a target for 2025, and then in 2022 he sets the target for 2028. So that is where he has found his way and he is moving forward, and that's really the entrepreneurship. So I admire him that he is a real entrepreneur, and he must be an inspiration to most of us, even those who are older sitting here. Thank you all very much for your presentation.
Thank you, Tripathi sir. Before vote of thanks to the students, I am giving one small food for thought. We are on LinkedIn? Yes. Correct. The founder of a LinkedIn, Reid Hoffman, had introduced one beautiful theory to the world that is called permanent beta, which is appeared in one of the slides. Go see it today evening. Okay? Thank you. Sir, my sincere thanks to Mr. Kunal Sikchi for coming and sharing with us. Excellent story, excellent insights about it. Special thanks to Shurkar Sahab of Devagiri Institute of Engineering and Management Studies, also the students, faculty members. Sincere thanks to Kaglia Sahab, Tripathi Sahab, Deshpande Sahab. Okay. Now I won't stop. I will ask one of his best friends, Dr. Deshpande Sahab, to present the flower to him.
अभी अनाउंस किया तो लेना पड़ेगा।
पिताजी ने अनाउंस किया तो देना ही है।
मैंने देखा वो रखा है वहाँ और है शिव का, या तो तुम मुझे दोगे या सतीश।
Thank you very much, and here comes we are at the conclusion of 71st rehearsal. Thank you very much.